Hello,
Hey, Mohammed.
good morning, Adam. How are you?
I'm great. Happy Friday.
A happy Friday to you. Happy to
Good
see you today.
afternoon from here.
It's great to see you.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you for joining us today as our featured speaker. And it's all yours. Go on.
All right. So thank you for having me today, and hello to everyone. Happy Friday. My name is Adam Dovico, and I come to you from the United States. I live in a state called North Carolina. It's in the South. It's nice and warm today. Finally, we got some heat. It's been kind of cold, so I'm excited to have some heat here, and I'm excited to be with you. It's actually the morning for me. I know it's in the afternoon for you guys right now, but it is the morning time here in the U.S., and I'm excited. I got my smiley suit. It's a Friday. If you follow me, you know I wear some crazy suits, so figure make everyone's day a little bit happier and start off with a big smile. So in my time today, I wanted to share with you guys something that I'm super passionate about and something that I'm really interested in as well. I'm actually going to share my screen with you. So bear with me just for a second, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Oh, Mohammed, can you allow share screening?
Okay, waiting.
Might be under settings.
Yes, okay, I'm ready. Okay. I'll give you the host, Adam.
All right.
So go on.
There we go. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And hopefully you guys can see that. There we go. So that's me. And I wanted to share with you guys something that I recently wrote called When Kids Lead with my good friend Todd, who I learned was actually with you guys last week, I believe. So that's really exciting. And I want to show you kind of why we believe, what happens when kids lead. And here's just a quote to kind of start us off. There's different types of leaders. Sometimes when we think of leaders, we think that there's only one type, but there's loud leaders, there's very quiet ones, there's people who kind of step back and they wait, and there's others who just go. And that's important to remember, that there's not just one type of leader. And all those types of leaders are sitting in our classrooms. They're in our homes right now, they're in our clubs, our teams, in our schools. And as we think about the different types of students that we have to remember that there's all different types of people and leaders in our schools. I also want to, remind people that we live in a communicative world. The fact that I am able to sit right now here in the United States and talk to you all the way in Egypt is mind-blowing. That's amazing. I love that. That is so amazing that we can do that now. And so your voice is so powerful. Your voice is something that can be shared with others. It can be something for motivation. It could be something for inspiration. But it's important for us as educators to allow our students, our young people, the chance to learn how their voice can be used. And so what I want to do over the next few minutes is just be able to share with you a few things that you can take back to your students and to your classrooms and your schools as ways that we can help our children, our students, learn to use their voice. And the first one is actually, and it's going to sound a little bit odd at first, but I promise it'll make sense. The first one has to do with data. And I'm sure, like many of you in Egypt, in the US, we have to learn how our students are doing through tests or assessments, quizzes, and we learn how they're doing with data. And so for me, I'm a former principal. I was a teacher, a principal, I was a college professor. And so I've had lots of different roles in education. And as a principal and as a teacher, one of the things that I had all my students do was collect and track their own data. Now, as a teacher, we are often tasked with collecting the data about our students. And then we make a plan on how to teach them or tell the students how they should be learning best. But what if we were to shift that And what if we were to allow our students to collect their own data and make sense of it by making a graph, by reflecting on their data, by explaining to us how they can learn better? And I'll share as a principal, we actually spent an entire year as a school learning and teaching our students how to track and collect their data. And so whether it was a test, whether it was their attendance, their behavior, they set goals, and they each had a notebook. Most teachers had it on paper, some actually made it digitally, and each student was taught how to collect their data. Now, what it looked like in kindergarten would be different than in 5th grade, would be different in middle school, different in high school. So each level is going to look very different, of course, but we wanted them to collect their own data and track it. Now, we also wanted to take it one step further. I'm sure many of you communicate with your students' parents on a regular basis. And you might have something we call it student or teacher-parent conferences or parent-teacher conferences. I'm sure you have something similar where you meet with the parents, and if a child is struggling or if they're doing well, the teacher and the parent talk about that. And I did that for many years as a teacher, but what I found out eventually was we were speaking for the child. The child had no voice in this. And so we wanted to be able to give a voice to the students. So actually last school year, my school, we developed something called Student-Led Conferences. And I actually want to show you a picture of it. So this is a student-led conference. This is 2nd grade, which is, it's about 8 years old or so, 7, 8 years old. And these students, using the data notebooks that they created, they got to talk to their parents. Okay, we did not do the talking. The teacher didn't do the talking. The parent didn't do the talking. The principal didn't do the talking. The students did the talking. And they went through their notebooks. They went through their learning and their data, and they told us how they were doing. And they set goals for themselves. They said, look, right now, I'm not doing very well in math. And they were able to say, here's why, and here's what I'm going to do to get better. Or they might say, hey, I'm doing really well right now in science. Here's why. Here's why I'm doing well. And so they were able to reflect on why they were doing what they were doing. Sometimes it just was, I wasn't working hard enough, or I just don't understand this. I need more help. Or sometimes what we saw was as they looked at their grades, they saw, oh, I've been absent 5 days out of the past 10. And they said, when I was absent, I wasn't learning this stuff. And so they were able to make connections. But the most powerful thing was it was their voice, their thinking, and their reflection. And so we were super proud of the student-led notebooks, which then turned into student-led conferences. Okay, I'm gonna go to number 2 now. So my second way that I really think we can bring voice, student voice, into the classroom is through debate and what we call seminars. And so it gives the kids a chance to do the talking. And I want to show another picture here. This is an activity I do where I'm not sure, you might have heard of something called Socratic Seminar. So if you've ever heard of Socratic Seminar, it kind of looks like this, where there's an inner circle and an outer circle. Now, if you think of the setup of a traditional classroom, usually you have rows of students or groups of students, and the teacher stands in the front. And whenever there's a conversation in the class, the conversation always comes back to the teacher. Students, even if we say, hey, talk to the class, the student is always directing the conversation to the teacher. And that's just a habit that we've had since we were in school. And that's okay. I wanted to change that. I wanted to have an activity where the students had to speak to each other. And so if you notice in here, the teacher is not in the circle. The teacher is way off to the side being an observer. And if you notice, I'll explain what's going on here. On the inner circle, these are the students who are speaking. So I gave them a topic. The topic here was actually about sustainability, like the ecology, the environment, and that kind of stuff. So they had read some articles leading up to this. And on the inner circle, they are discussing a question that I gave them. But after I gave them the question, I stepped away. Now, do you notice the people on the outside? They are actually active as well. The people on the outside, they are partners with the students on the inside. So each person on the inside circle has 2 partners. And those partners are working to help the person on the inside circle. So the people on the outside, that you have 2 different jobs that you can have. One job on the outside circle is to be reading through the articles that you had leading up to this. So they have the articles in their hand. Now, the other person on the outside, they have some type of technology, either a laptop, an iPad, a Chromebook, something that they can do live research. And so as the conversation is going on in the inner circle, the people on the outside circle, they each have pieces of scrap paper, just paper torn up, just white paper, and a pen or pencil. And as they find either quotations, statistics, facts, or talking points for their partner on the inside, they write it down, and then they hand it to their partner on the inside. And this helps the person on the inside if they're a little bit shy, or they don't know what to say, or they need some extra facts. Their partner on the outside is helping them. So by doing this, this is 100% student-led. Me as the teacher, I'm on the outside, I don't talk, I just listen. And I'm listening to hear their conversation, because after this is done, then I can jump in. I can lead it a different direction, I can give feedback, I can offer kind of a feedback session. But the idea is that they are leading with their voices. I'm not giving the directions, I'm not giving the information, they are producing it. Now, I want to show you a different kind of debate. So I love debate. I love debate and looking at multiple sides. Now, here's the thing. You may have students who are not as quick with their speaking. Maybe they don't process as quickly. Maybe they like to wait and then share afterwards. This is a great activity for students who may not be as great with verbal conversation. So you'll notice here, these are my students. These were 5th graders, so about 10 or 11 years old. And these students they're on their desk. All right, so if you have desks or tables, I gave each student a dry erase marker. Okay, so you can wipe it up and it comes up. It's not permanent. And so I gave them a question based on an article that we had read, and they had to state their position on it. So basically, they're putting what they believe. Now they have to back it up with facts. So you can't just say, I think. You have to say, I think this because, and then you have to support it with facts or statistics or quotes. Now, after they get to write their position, everyone in the class stands up. And then they rotate to another desk. Okay, you only get about 10 seconds. It's real quick. You just stand up, go to a different desk, and you sit down. When you go to the different desk, you read what they wrote. And no matter what they wrote, you have to disagree with it. So even if you're like, yes, that's the best phrase ever, I love what they wrote, you have to disagree with it. So sometimes you don't know what you're getting into. Sometimes you're like, oh, I don't like what they said, in which case it's easy to write against it. But if you're like, oh, I love what they wrote, this is perfect, doesn't matter. You have to disagree with it. Because what I want to teach my students is that there are different sides to every debate. Your opinion matters, so does the other person who doesn't agree with you. And so we have to teach our students that there are different voices, there are different perspectives and different ideas in this world. Because I think so often, and I don't know about your country, but in my country, in the United States, we're in a tough time right now. People don't agree on a lot of the politics that go on. And so often, and that's okay, but so often we think that it's either right or wrong versus just 2 different sides that don't agree. And it's okay to have a conversation. It's okay to disagree with someone. It's never personal. We don't yell. We just have a conversation about it. So if you want to bring in debate or looking at arguments from different perspectives in your class, this is a great activity to do because it involves people getting to think, but also share their voice, but through their writing. So a little bit of a different way. All right, now, I will say, please, I'm begging you, please, if you are gonna try this, try the dry erase markers before you let the kids do it, because the dry erase markers don't work on every surface. So if dry erase markers don't work on your desks or tables, you can do this on a piece of paper. You can do this on a big poster board. You can do it in lots of different ways. But I just wanted to show you one way that I do it in my classroom. Now, I'm also going to share something related to this with kind of sharing student voice that I had as a rule in my school. So I had 600 students in my school. All 600 students had the same expectation. When it is their turn to speak, they stand up to speak. And I did this for a couple of reasons. Now, I'm not sure what the customs are in Egypt, but in US, typically students just sit when they speak. When it's their turn to speak in class, they just sit there, and then you have some students who get shy or they're not into it, and so they put their head down into their arm, and it's hard to hear them. And so I had students stand up to speak, and what this was able to do was to allow them to practice speaking in front of others. And it's a classroom, so it's a safer environment, but we practiced what it looks like to stand up, share your thoughts, and then sit down again. And then this also helps with everyone else in the classroom, because we want everyone to respect the person who's speaking. It's respectful to listen to the person who is speaking. And so by that person standing up, your eyes are automatically drawn to that person. So that was a little tip that I wanted to share, because it's something that really changed the confidence in my students throughout my school during the classroom, during the year. And look, I was a principal of an elementary school, which is kindergarten through 5th grade for me. That's 5 years old. I had 5-year-olds standing to speak, and very confidently as well by the end of the year. And so if you do that year after year after year, can you imagine how confident those students are going to be by the time they get to high school and they're asked to stand on a stage or make a big presentation? They'll have had years and years of practice to get to that. So I just wanted to share that. All right, and my third idea that I wanted to share with you guys is about celebrating leadership. Because sometimes we need to recognize those who go above and beyond. We need to give praise to those who do well. Now, I wanted to create something in my classroom, or in my school, I should say, where kids were recognized for doing positive things. Now, as a principal, I don't know if I have any principals or assistant principals listening in here, but you know that if a kid comes down to your office, usually it's not for a good reason. Sometimes those kids go to the principal's office for getting in trouble, or they have to get a talking to. That's pretty standard throughout. I didn't want that to be my office. I didn't want kids to come to my office just because they were in trouble. So I created something called an awesome office visit. And you see that piece of yellow paper there? That was given to every single adult in my school. And those are forms that any adult can fill out. And actually, would you believe, I even had some parents who requested it, because there were parents who said, you know what, I met this kid when I was at the school today. They blew me away. Can I fill out one? I said, sure. Any adult could fill this out. And what they did was they recognized the student for something awesome they did to show leadership. So it might have been academic. So they might have done really, really well on some academic things. It could have been behavior. This kid is just amazing in my class, always doing the right thing. It could be for character. Maybe they showed kindness or empathy. Just they were a great friend. It could be for showing growth. And I love that, because not every kid is going to have perfect things all the time. But when you start off maybe a little bit rough and you show that you are constantly growing, I think that needs to be recognized as well. So no matter what the reason was, the kid was going to receive this form. They were going to go down to my office. And when they got to my office, I made a big deal out of it. I called home. I said, hey, let's call someone, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, whoever you want. And then you see that wall behind him? That is my office wall. I painted it in chalkboard paint. And when they got down to my office, they got a piece of chalk and they got to write their name on my wall. So I've had actually a lot of teachers see what I did there, and I've had teachers actually make this in their own classroom. So it doesn't have to just be a principal's office. I've had teachers make this in their own classroom. So if there's a wall or a cabinet or something you can paint, go for it. If not, you can just get a big old piece of paper. It doesn't have to be fancy. It's what you make of it. And so this is just a way to recognize students who are showing leadership through their actions, through their words, through their behaviors, whatever that may be. It's important to recognize and celebrate leadership sometimes. And we don't want to give what we call false praise. False praise means, hey, you did this one time. No, it's not about that. It's not about just one time, I did this just to get rewards. It's not about that. It's about students who are consistently showing, yes, I am doing something that's helping others or showing leadership. That's what it's about. So just a proud moment. That's actually my son that you see there. That's my own son. He got that from his teacher because he was showing great leadership by being, we had a job called greeter, and he did a great job. And so that was really proud. I'm proud that he got and earned one as well. So what I want to do is, I'm going to stop the share there. I'm going to go back there, and I just wanted to see if there were, so I'm going to go through, I see there are comments and stuff. So if you just bear with me just for a second, I'm going to see if anyone had questions. Let's see, facilitator, interesting tools. Thank you. I saw the nice outfit. I have lots of suits. If you follow me on social media, I wear lots of crazy suits. A soft copy of the form. Yeah, so I'm happy to provide the form. Mohammed, if I send you a link to the form, would you be able to send it out to people?
Yes, okay, sure.
Perfect. So I will send Mohammed the form, the copy of the form, and then he'll get it to you. I'd be happy to do that. So are there any other questions that anyone has? Feel free to put them in the comment box there, and be happy to answer those. So as people are typing there, I'll say if you are into leadership, definitely check out my new book. It's coming out in a couple weeks. It's called When Kids Lead, and it's all about how we as adults can build and cultivate and get leadership in our students in our classrooms. Great question. So someone asked about large classes. How can we get them involved? So it's tough. And there are classes here in the United States that have 40, 45 students. I'm sure you guys have the same there, if not bigger. And so large classes are tough to get leadership for individual students. I think both of the activities that I showed, especially with the writing, that's an easy way to get everyone involved because everyone is active. You don't have to call on one person at a time. The other activity I showed with the circles, the seminar, you could actually have 2 of those going at the same time. So if you have a class of like 40 or 45 in there, you could split those up into 2 groups of 20 and have 2 groups going on at the same time. Because obviously you don't want to have 40 kids in one activity. That would be a lot. So that's just an idea for getting the kids kind of still involved, but active. Encouraging shy students, that's a great question as well. Yeah, so I had so many students who were shy, and it's tough because you want them to still, even a shy kid still has a voice, and that's important to remember. Even shy students have a voice. They maybe don't just know how to use it yet. And so for our shy students, I encourage you to give them opportunities in small pieces to share their voice. So here's an example, an easy way for a shy student. Before class that day, before class starts, to go up to the student and say, hey, I'm going to ask this question today, and here's what I want you to say. So they know exactly what to say and when they're going to say it. So that's a very small, easy way to get a shy student involved. And what all you're trying to do is build their confidence. So you know what, that shy student, they may not ever be up on a stage, but if we can just get them comfortable with using their voice, that's what it's about. And so that's just an example of how to get a shy student involved. Okay, students, troublemakers, yeah. Yeah, there's always going to be them. No matter, I've traveled around the world, I've gone to schools around the world, and there's one consistent thing. There's troublemakers everywhere, everywhere. So for me, as an educator, as a teacher, I always want to find, why are they being a troublemaker? Why? Are they bored? Are they trying to be funny? Are they trying to get the attention of everyone else? Why does a student get in trouble? So every student is going to be different, but for students who are just looking for attention, and that's a lot of the students, they just want to, they like the attention. They want to be laughed. They want to make people laugh. They want people to look at them. They think they're funny. For me, yeah, I just saw someone attracting attention. Yes. So for them, what if we were to turn it into something positive and say, hey, for this activity, you're going to be the team leader, and everything that happens is your responsibility. So building up that responsibility in the student that wants attention. Now, I also saw someone who says, what if they're not interested or not motivated? Okay, so that's a different kind of kid. All right, so the kid that wants attention, that's one kind. The kid who's maybe not interested or not motivated, that's a different kind. So that for the kid who's maybe not interested or not motivated, for them, I want to pull them aside. That's a kid that I'm going to spend some time with outside of class, and I want to find out what motivates you. Obviously, it's not going to be school for some of these kids, all right? It's not going to be the learning. Maybe it's sports, soccer, baseball, basketball. Maybe it's drawing or art. Maybe it's music. For me, I want to find what does motivate that kid if it's not school, and I'm going to start using that to build a relationship with the kid. Now, is it going to make them more interested in what's going on in class? Maybe, maybe not. But if I can build a strong relationship with that kid, maybe through music, maybe through sports, my hope as a teacher is that they're not going to bother the rest of the class during class. So while they're learning. So if I can build that relationship, maybe that kid comes from my class and says, you know what, he's cool. I'm not gonna act out. I'm not gonna be a troublemaker. I'm not gonna participate, but I'm not gonna be a troublemaker. So very different types of kids, but I've had both. I've had them all in my class before. I know what you mean. So most teachers tend to berate students. Okay, so someone said about berating students. That's not my style personally. I don't yell at kids. I know there are some teachers that do. It's not my style personally. I'd rather build the relationships, but I guess you need to do what works for you, of course. That's just not my personal style. So, all right, and I saw someone said I give responsibilities. Yes, give leadership responsibilities. That's what this whole thing is about today. Let them hear their voice. Let them be responsible for things. So with that, I just want to thank everyone and appreciate what you guys are doing. I know this is a tough time right now, and I know everyone around the world is impacted by what's going on with this virus. And so I hope you and your family and your friends are safe and healthy right now, and you continue to do what's best for your students in this time. And we will get back to our normal one day, I promise. So Mohammed, thank you so much for inviting me here today.
Thank you, Dr. Adam. Thank you. Great ideas about unleashing the pace for students' own thoughts and abilities. Great effort for you, and thanks for sharing your own thoughts. Thanks.
My pleasure. Thank you, guys.
My pleasure to us. Thank you,
Adam. Thank you very much for your efforts. Thank you. Bye.
You're welcome. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.